I'm
I'm ready when
recording.
you are.
um, yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Nick Ben Rob here with Cal, Dan, and Win. We're
Nope.
back with episode 6 of Dominus Talk Podcast. We got a lot of stuff today. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Not a lot of news with Siege, but we're about to go ahead and try something new and get on to some other topics because Siege is not the only thing about with life and gaming and all that. We do have personalities and everything like that. So we probably go talk about some other stuff today. Some things that happened recently. So yeah. Um, so Dan, just get this out of the way. What kind of news that we got so far with the latest season?
Okay, so a lot of the talk has been about like a recent event that occurred. Sploit, who was someone like Bolo, a content creator, someone who was underage and kind of stuck out of Pro League, finally became of age and he was able to join Team Rogue when Rips departed. So I'm hoping that'll probably help them in the upcoming stages and seasons because last Invitational, they went 1-0-0 and 3 and lost 2-1 to Elevate in the first round of the Invitational playoffs. And as far as North Carolina goes, they didn't even qualify. So they've kind of taken a turn for the worst in comparison to like recent years when they've been like up there in terms of skill level. And I'm hoping that they turn around and kind of start improving like we saw TSM did. Because like TSM for the most part, they were a middle of the road team before the Invitational in Stage 3, and after that, they added Bolo, they started to get stuff together. They shifted people around, and then they won Invitational. So I mean, I'm very excited to see where they go. Hopefully, they aren't like Mirage or last season exit, not this season exit, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Oh, my bad. I was muted. Oh, okay.
You're all good.
So just to be upfront, that a lot of but that was basically the only roster change in North America, right? Was Spoit going into Team Rogue?
I mean, that was, I believe, the most major one. I have not seen much else on Twitter about other roster changes. A lot of stuff on Twitter as far as R6 goes has been about the season being delayed. It was supposed to come out the 7th. They didn't really tell us what was wrong with the actual game
Yeah,
because usually when they do, it's a live action patch, except for I believe maybe once or twice they've held back a new season. But
mm-hmm.
recently, actually, it's now come out that it's coming out the 14th, thanks to Cal. I've been informed about that, and I'm kind of happy because I've seen a lot of these quality of life updates that they're bringing. You know, the shooting range, different sidearms for operators, operator guides, which really helps new players,
Mm-hmm.
privacy mode for streamers. Screen shake intensity is a big one for a lot of people. And then there's also for the pro scene, there's a very big change in that there's no operator grace period anymore. Any new op that comes into the game, they're allowed to play that season. They get to learn just with everyone else. It's going to be very fun to see how people incorporate the new op. And I think it's a really good turn for Ubisoft. But I guess the only issue with that is with the new gadgets, there's also a possibility that they might break the game. So we gotta just hope that they don't abuse it, or if Pro League does abuse it, then they'll fix it.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm interested to see how the meta develops differently now
yes,
because each pro stage you're gonna stage one you're gonna see something done a certain way, and then stage two it's gonna change a little bit, stage three it's gonna change a little bit, so you can see how the meta progresses, like just on stage immediately, as opposed to they've been screwing around with it for the last 3 months and now they've got everything down pat. So we don't really
yeah,
we only see the beginning, then we see the end. We don't really see that in between time, that development stage.
right.
yes,
And I want to go back down to the whole delay issue because there wasn't a reason why. They just said that the people have found an issue, but they could at least address to what it was going on. That is that is a problem to me personally because they were being transparent up till then. and now it's like, what's going on? Why are you delaying the season? Um, with like so short notice and everything, and it's an extra week, even though the battle pass itself has closed off. Like
Yeah.
this is not, y'all tried to have the battle pass throughout the whole entire season, but y'all delay, so it kind of like come on, fix like
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, playing devil's advocate, number one, it is only a week. I was expecting it to be like a month. Um, but if they, because they were very mum on just everything, it's like it's delayed a week. There's an issue, and that was it. That tells me that it was more than likely some sort of exploitive issue that was present, and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to announce it so that people, to bring attention to it, so that people were abusing it while it was still in the game. That's
Yeah.
Yes.
that's what jumps out to me immediately when there's an announcement like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll agree with you, Nick. I think there was sort of a transparency issue, but to Cal's point, you don't want it putting out there because once you put it out there, it's a lot different than if, let's say, people find out about it once they start playing it. Like if they're announcing it, you're basically opening up and inviting people to find new ways to do the exact same glitch. Because there's no 100% cover up for these things. Like I don't know if it's been 100% fixed, but the jump out a cafe window and jumping back in train. I'm pretty sure, to my knowledge, you might still be able to die off that jump. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, but like not all these things are 100% fixes. And if it took them an entire week and they pushed back an entire season for this, it must have been something really important.
Yeah. I know that what was there was an exploit, what the Azamina exploit, back in the test servers where they
Oh
basically
yeah,
did, yeah.
you could mount anywhere.
Yes.
Yes. And that could have been, I mean, that
Yeah, like
was
the big one I remember seeing was getting on the fridge in chalet in kitchen.
I
Like
remember getting on the rafters in Chalet. That was
yeah.
yeah.
little broken.
Well, I'd like to speak to Azami actually, as far as that's concerned. I personally am of the belief that Azami being added in the Pro League and just the game in general in a comp setting is going to be the evener out with attacker repick and defender repick getting taken away. Because to my point, a lot of her playstyle comes from creativity. You can put those things pretty much anywhere and create a lot of new angles. So now attackers gotta basically think, okay, instead of okay, we need to bring this to neutralize these people. Now you have to think, now we have to bring these people to neutralize these people, and we have to drone everything out and grab intel. Because if we don't, then we're gonna get screwed by some of these random angles that these people are gonna make.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a great game changer, I think, in Pro League, in addition to the new op that's being added. Both of those combined, I think, are going to be very interesting.
Yeah. I don't have much opinion with that. When
Yeah.
what you think about that? When you
I'm
there?
sorry, I was muted. Yeah.
All day today, it's fine.
What was the last thing you said? I'm sorry, I also spaced out. It's a little both.
What are your thoughts on the new op and the
Oh my
Asami
god.
being added in the Pro League? Because I said there would be a lot of creativity. It's very interesting seeing someone who creates angles and someone that takes angles away being added in
Well,
the same time the Pro League.
one of the things I'm really excited for is Warden having more than just one use against like just flashbangs and smokes. Like now he's definitely going to be like, if someone's going to want to bring that new op, they're going to want to ban Warden immediately. Because it makes I like that the attackers are now getting something that's more like focused on helping them win, because this is a very defender sided game in my opinion. And having someone that can do some wild stuff like make like these crazy like walls so people can run to safety, or like someone gets down, like the possibility of just throwing that up instead of a smoke so you can actually see what you're doing while being protected and not visible to the enemy players is awesome. I think that's
Mhm.
great.
Don't forget. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go
When
ahead. No,
oh,
I
I just wanted to add on real quick to your warden thing,
I think I know what
because
you're going to say.
Yeah, with glass.
Yes.
So because the new operator, it conceals areas for both teams. So as a result, it may, in certain regards, increase the pick for glass, because if you've seen the videos for it, like glass aims and can immediately see clear as day through all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it, I can see it being something like a plant setup where you put the plant down, you have glass holding a really long angle, you put the freaking new operator stuff down. I forget the new operator's name, I forget what his
I do
gadget's
not
called.
know it either.
So
Sins, and he has a roly
Or
poly
Sins,
oly.
not Lens.
all right, I'll call it just that green shit. So he puts that green shit down, you have glass holding a long angle, defenders can't see through it, it makes it even more difficult. Like it's gonna, and that's just one potential. Like it introduces a lot more variables.
That might
So,
actually open up some new defaults, honestly.
So are we gonna see a new meta in the banning? They're gonna have a warning glass band and keep Sense in?
I don't.
I don't know.
Nah,
It's
I
just
don't think so.
as
I
the
mean,
game.
because like to me, Thatcher is kind of with his recent, semi-recent like nerf. Like it's not necessarily needed because there's been so many times where we've tried to get through like walls just to like in my casual gameplay of just like trying to get around like a bandit or something, like because it only disables it, and you can put multiple bandit charges on a wall, so it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean you need to ban Thatcher because it's
Yeah.
very easy to counter as long as you have bandit.
Yeah, but that comfort pick with not worrying about your gadgets being disabled when they're trying to make a push is a very good comfort ban. And the thing about
Yeah,
it's not banned a lot in Pro League, but it is banned a lot in casual play. And what I mean by casual, I mean like rank, unrank, and quick match.
yeah, that's I'm thinking like higher golds and like plat
Yeah.
level players are not going to necessarily care that much when it comes to that because they're going to be
Mhm.
well versed in dealing with a Thatcher
Yes.
if someone brings one. So that's why I'm thinking that there might be a new meta shift, like the higher like tiers or the higher ranks when it comes to that, because like everyone
Yeah.
wants the ability to see through shit.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm of the thought process that I think Maverick's going to start getting banned a lot more than Thatcher, especially with people getting used to the fact that you can ban a trick multiple
oh yeah,
charges on the same wall now. I
Yeah.
I
think
mean,
it's going to be a lot easier to ban a trick.
and every time that Thatcher's banned and you have uh Caliban, also like the first thing that you always see coming through the wall is going to be Maverick, and then flashbangs being
Yeah.
tossed in.
I'm sorry.
Cali's
So
banned.
I just don't
Wait,
like
Cali
Cali. When I see Cali
Yeah.
plays, it's like, bro, out of all the ops, you want to pick the sniper. Like, you're either going to die first or you're going to die last, and you're just going to. I just want the round to end.
I'm at the point where I think he's only good or she's only good on Clubhouse when they're top floor. That's
Yeah,
pretty much
exactly.
it.
Yeah, and it's consulate. You see that play all the time.
Yes.
Like, once you hear that Cali charge hit that wall, you know not to really be peeking. If you're peeking, you're basically going to be try to rotate, dodge bullet. That's what I mainly do. But
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, those are the only two ops. Also, small note: Glass has lost some weight. He is now a 3-speed now. They took it. He got on a diet.
I
I
personally
just think he took off those like 50 like freaking fur coats that he's wearing.
Yeah, he's not actually that big of a dude. He's just real thick clothes wise. It's weird.
It's all in the
Mhm.
details.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good time for Siege. A lot of changes being made for the good of the game. A lot of improvements, comfort changes. Like there's also some small stuff like TDM maps being added. Like you got a first dedicated one coming. Also, I read this at the end of the patch notes. It wasn't really well displayed or shown off. Towers being added to the TDM playlist. I think that's going to be a good idea in comparison to Favela, which has the most horrendous spawns in that game mode.
When
Well, not just that. Put in some TDM maps for comp maps. So like just it can at the most basic level it can help with people learning how to navigate the map.
what do you
Yeah.
mean? What do you mean about
Do
putting TDM
you mean
maps
more
in comp?
maps?
Like
Bank and stuff like that.
yeah, like if it's available in ranked,
Oh,
then we should be able to, I'm not saying all of them because it might be a
Right.
huge pain in the ass to like redo all the spawn points and everything, but like just a couple. Like,
Right.
we don't. Nobody plays favela. Let's
No.
be real. When favela is up, it gets banned. I mean, I don't have
Yeah.
the ban rate for it, but if Outback had like a 90% ban rate, favela has to have a higher percentage. Has
100.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of bans, a lot of
When
changes.
when you first said that, I was thinking like putting TDM maps into rank games, like that new
That's
TDM
what I
map.
thought you said, and
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
like, that
confused. I was
does
like,
not
wait,
make
what?
sense. Please
Like
do not do
it's
that.
TDM is meant to be a practice mode, so like
Right.
Yes.
allow us to practice on the maps we're going to be playing and sweating on,
Yeah. But I'd also agree that being tower added, maybe at like yacht or something like that. Add these maps that don't see a lot of play, or any for that matter, because it's a good chance to see them again. Personally,
Yeah.
True, but I mean a bad map's a bad map.
I think towers,
No.
at least for
Well,
TDM, I think it's a good map.
towers okay. Like if it got a redesign, I could definitely see it in ranked. But like, maps like Yacht, Bartlett, those are just. I mean, even
Bartlett,
just
I never want to see hit the game
Yeah,
again.
nothing
Honestly.
like long corridors that just the perfect sign of a great map. It's just long open spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
My apologies, but I just looked at the layout of tower map. That map, what isn't that a 3-story map?
It's
Like
a two.
that's a,
It's a two-story, I believe, with the
that
rafters being the third.
and
yeah,
I'm
you can just have somebody hanging out on like the top most floors. I can still see the second level.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So
I'm not
attacker only.
against it, but it probably needs a little bit more space because I can see a lot of play on the outside, but when it comes in the middle parts, it might be a little bit slower.
Yeah, it needs more avenues of approaching
Verticality.
each site. Because
Yeah.
like if you look at current ranked maps, every single room has at least two ways to enter it. Every
Mm-hmm.
single one. So and so I'm guessing that's what they're trying to do with everything. More than one entrance to every single area in the map to make it fair, so that
Yeah.
the defender just doesn't have to hold one angle. They're going to hold the most
Mm-hmm.
common angle, but then also be worrying about that shit behind their back, as it should be. Like when you play Siege, if you feel comfortable, then
Mm-hmm.
That's a
you
problem.
you either know exactly what's going on, or whatever you're doing is a little too easy for your defense or attack side.
I think this is.
If it's like a 5-on-5, nobody's died yet sort of thing.
I think they're testing tower out before they do a rework to see how um, it works with the when it reworks a more competitive setting.
Yeah.
Because
If they do that, it's just.
yeah,
I hope they take a lot of the collisions out. There's a lot of just random stuff in that map that make every room feel like really claustrophobic.
yeah, there's a lot of dead
Just
space in that map
yeah.
too. Like they, I feel like they're making a slowly path to making the comps more competitive because these maps are starting to. It's not stale. It's just like the possibility of the same strat happens quite often now.
Yeah. Plus, going back to just maps as a whole, I remember reading somewhere or watching an interview with one of the devs where they were saying like they don't want to be like COD where their install size is like 250 gigs and all that. But it's like at some point you're gonna hit every map with a redesign, and it's gonna be fine. You don't need to constantly redesign maps. Like some maps have gotten like you know one or two tweaks and on top of a redesign. So it's like, how many times are you going to redo something on a map instead just start pushing out more and more maps? Like if the install size gets to 120 gigs, like that's honestly kind of fine considering how large the game is. And as time goes on, people are going to be getting larger and larger hard drives anyways. Like SSDs are becoming so much more inexpensive, so it's like it's it's feasible. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Mm-hmm. And yeah. So not much siege news, but going into it. But so Wait, it's E3 got canceled this year, and I do believe
Same as last year, right?
it was no, it was not canceled last year. Like it was
I think
virtual.
it
It was
was.
I think
virtually,
it
Yeah.
was.
but
No,
it
Yeah.
wasn't.
it was a virtual. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it
But
was.
virtual
Well,
isn't.
It's
That's
still
probably why they
E3.
canceled it.
It's still E3 though, but they totally on canceled it this year.
Yeah.
But they're gonna start next year. Um,
but Sony pulled out of E3 anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sony, Sony's PlayStation State of Play event. June 2nd, they announced the Resident Evil 4 remake. Ugh. I know both you, Cal, and Win have both had a lot of fun with those games, so I'll let you guys take it away as far as your thoughts and opinions on it coming back.
Well, like, I don't mind a remake, especially for a game as old as Resident Evil 4. I mean, the first time I ever played Resident Evil 4, I was like 16 or 17 at the time playing it on a GameCube. I was at one of my friends' houses doing it. Like it's been a long time, and it's almost like Skyrim levels of re-releases with just the same game itself. You know, maybe an HD retexture type of thing or an upscale or whatever. Um, I don't mind the idea of a remake. Um, I liked the Resident Evil 2 remake. They took what was there and sort of changed some things around, expanded upon it. You know, sort of made it its own, gave it its own identity, and I liked it. I didn't mind it. Um, I still love the original Resident Evil 2. I like the new Resident Evil 2. The Resident Evil 3 remake, I did not like. I
Why is
remember
that?
because it's Resident Evil 3 originally was pretty short too. It was Resident Evil 3 was more of an expansion to Resident Evil 2 than an actual full game, and I'll admit that up front. But Resident Evil 3, it just everything just seems just so redesigned to the point where it was kind of a new game. And
Yeah.
again, that's fine, but my issue with it was just so short.
hmm
And I remember like I bought it on PC, and Capcom sort of knew that there wasn't enough game to justify like the $60, so they actually released it with a multiplayer freaking asymmetrical an asymmetrical Resident Evil multiplayer game. I don't even remember what it was called.
Huh?
It was essentially like a Dead by Daylight type of gameplay.
Oh,
Oh.
Where
okay.
it was like
Okay.
4 survivors, and you got one dude who's orchestrating all the horrors and everything. That game did
hmm
not last. Like,
I'd expect that at this point.
Okay.
I'll let me look it up. What I need to remember even what it's called. But what do you feel when about Resident Evil 4 remake?
Yeah. You were really
So
excited when I told you.
I'm excited to see it in the new RE engine. I feel like they should definitely give 5 and 6 that same treatment, even though they're lesser games. I still feel like they also deserve it because they're a third person in that genre of Resident Evil. Because there's like what I would call second person, which is like the first 3 uh, that I grew up with. Because I grew up playing the second one on the original PlayStation, and I have that still. It's like half my identity. The other half is anime, so just deal with it, I guess.
hmm
But
Nice.
Resident Evil 2 is a game that I played way too young. I was way too young to play that game, and I
hmm
played it a ton. So when they announced that they were going to remake Resident Evil 2 and do it in the RE engine, I was super excited. I bought it on PlayStation. I have it on PC. I've beaten it 3 or 4 times already. And even went back a couple months ago and started doing the other modes, even though I wasn't as interested in it because I was more interested in more of the story elements and how they changed it. I didn't buy 3 because 3 was not my favorite growing up. I played very little of it. My roommate loved 3, so I would play 2 like on his PC because he when you or on the PS3 because when you bought the PS3 version, which I wish was still a thing, you get all like the PS3 Resident Evil 6 had every other Resident Evil with it. Like if you bought the special edition. So you can play Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, like the PlayStation 1 versions, 4, 5, 6, the PS3 ports, and so on. It was a great buy.
Interesting.
Yeah, but they don't have that anymore. It's not
I
it's
was
not a
about to
thing
say,
you
I
could
don't
do.
think I've ever seen that before with
Yeah,
any other
because I
game.
looked when the PS4 came out and I got a PS4. I was like, oh, maybe I can get Resident Evil 6 and get that whole collection. Nope, it's not
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, But Resident Evil, like, so he would play Resident Evil 3 and I would play Resident Evil 2. We just spent nights just playing that all the time because we knew every single location for every key and how to do all the puzzles. So when Resident Evil 2 actually changed the puzzles around, so it was familiar enough for me to be like, oh, I know where you're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
And adding new puzzles in, I was really excited. But again, 3, there just wasn't enough there for me to jump into and play. I think it's actually that multiplayer mode you're talking about. It's called Resistance. I had to look it up to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah, it's basically like Resistance is like a game mode where you sit inside of like a control room and you are sending out zombies and just different types of enemies and BOWs to come after you. But did 3 have the mechanic where you could dodge like it did in the PlayStation 1 version?
I want to say yes. It's been a while since
Okay.
I played it.
Yeah, because that was one of the things I liked about 3 that I wish was implemented in 2, but they only put it in 3.
Mm-hmm.
Was the whole dodge mechanic.
Okay.
I don't mind not having the dodge mechanic in 2 because 2 and 3, even though they take place in the exact same time frame, like they're honestly two drastically different games. Like Resident Evil 2
Mhm.
is like you're trying to escape, survive, discover, try to figure out what happened. Resident Evil 3 is just like go, 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 get the fuck out of here. We got this crazy dude that we can't kill like coming after us and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it was a little different. I appreciate the fact that they experimented so much that they, pretty much every single Resident Evil game is a drastic departure from the previous one while sort of still retaining some elements.
Yeah.
Of course, it culminated in Resident Evil 6, and we all know how that went.
Oh yeah.
Um, but like you said, I wouldn't mind seeing a remake of 5 and 6 as well. And I
Mhm.
would specifically like to see it be a little bit more horror oriented because I mean, you're still fighting zombies. You still got a whole bunch of crazy shit going on, especially 6. 6 is like ultimate worst case scenario that everyone was talking about throughout the entire Resident Evil series. Like, we can't let this get out. Oh my God, a town's infected. They had to fucking nuke it in order to sanitize everything.
Damn.
And then Resident Evil 6 is just like, the freaking president becomes a zombie. Sorry, spoiler alert.
You good? You good?
Um,
Not
and
gonna
it's
play them
like
anyways.
there's just massive amounts of just infected everywhere, and it's just like holy shit,
Mm-hmm.
like what do we do? And then you have the 3 converging storylines with the 3 different pairs, well 4 if you count Ada's campaign. And it's like it actually, if you really analyze Resident Evil 6, it probably has the most going on for it, story
Mm-hmm.
wise, lore wise, gameplay wise, content wise, than all the other Resident Evils that came before it. They just leaned way too heavily into the action aspect. It needs to go back to a more survival. Like, don't give me as much ammo, like even on normal. Like, make it where if you're dealing with more than one zombie, it's an extremely harrowing prospect, that sort of thing.
Haven't they done
But
those in the previous ones? The new ones out. What is it? 7 and 8, or
Oh
is it
yeah, the
6 and
7 and
7?
8, Resident Evil 7 and 8, those games are
they went back to
terrifying.
horror. Yeah, they
Yeah,
went back
those,
to actual horror.
Okay.
like 7 especially, it's so claustrophobic, it's disgusting, it's just generally horrifying, it's amazing.
Okay. Interesting. 'Cause-
I'm really excited for those to possibly get remade only because the split screen multiplayer and doing the campaigns, like I don't think that's something that they'll do. Like, but they're kind of a big part of that game because you do have a companion with you for 5 and 6. You always have like another like partner with you.
mm-hmm.
So it would be really interesting to see if that's going to be something that they're willing to do because then that means they're going to have to like put out like servers for it so you can do multiplayer because they're not going to do split screen obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything has moved on to multiplayer like online. So I would like to see if they do that, but I'm very what's the word? Realistic about it and saying that I don't think they will because 5 and 6 weren't as received as well, but 4 is very beloved because it was the first one that was over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the one that a lot of people attached themselves to. Me, I liked it. I played a lot of it, but it wasn't my favorite one because 2 always has a special place in my heart, and that game always made me horrified playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Yeah.
4 was definitely more action packed. The only thing I could tell you I have PTSD from 4 is anything that sounds like a chainsaw because that was horrifying.
And 4 remake is coming out March 23rd, 2023, supposedly.
Yeah.
So that date can always change, but it's not going to be released any earlier, but it's going to be starting from March 23rd. Expect that game to come out.
As we've seen with Cyberpunk and their pushbacks,
Yeah,
anything's possible.
I don't have much issues with pushbacks, as long as you don't make it over a year or so for a pushback. Then
Yeah.
you basically was able to finish that game whatsoever. 2 months is probably good for me. Also, there was Resident Evil 7, the Village one, VR version on PlayStation.
Yeah, Resident Evil 7 had a PSVR port as well.
Right.
Interesting.
That looked horrifying. I watched my roommate's buddy stream that to his PlayStation. We sat in the living room and we watched someone stream their headset feed to our PlayStation,
Yeah.
because you could do that on the PS4. You could stream like your feed and stuff like that by
Mhm.
screen sharing. It was horrifying. I could not, like, I have a PSVR and I saw that and I was like, I will not do that. I will not buy that and do that. That is too much. That is a heart attack and a half waiting.
Yeah, you wait up till one of your like a cat shows up or your wife shows up
Just
while you're
swing
playing.
at it by
Yeah,
accident.
Domestic abuse,
someone's
domestic
getting
abuse.
someone's getting an elbow. That's how that's gonna go down.
I can see it.
That game has no release date whatsoever. I'm saying on here, but it has been shown that it's coming out. It's coming out. So, that might be. Predictions on release date. What do you think? I'm saying, summer 2023.
I think it's doable for March, honestly. Like, you've got a year and a half still, and if they're announcing it, then that means you'll already have something workable to a point.
But March
I
is
believe.
Resident Evil 4 remake though.
Oh, you mean for the VR?
Yes, VR.
Oh, okay. VR, yeah, probably summer to fall. I'd say you can't have both coming out at the same time.
I don't know. They might. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Capcom goes and does some things where they release them as a package deal or something.
I know, but then one's gonna get overshadowed by the other.
Well,
Yeah,
actually, does anyone know when the PSVR 2 is scheduled to release?
I do not know that off the top.
Hold on,
Because
let me look it up.
I know that Sony is basically trying to get as many properties and as many games set up
Yet to be
for
announced.
this launch. Yeah, they're trying to. I think there's
It's
like a total of like 20 games for the launch.
First quarter 2023.
Yeah, so it may be even spring.
So it's
Because which
spring.
one was
That's
announced
quarter
first,
one.
the VR or the remake?
The VR.
The remake.
VR was. Aren't they
Unless
both
I'm wrong.
announced at the same time?
Possibly.
Because there would have been speculation
I think
about
so.
VR too. Like there would have been leaks and stuff.
I'd say the VR might come out first just because they're a little easier to create.
Yeah, that might come with the VR too. That I wouldn't be surprised if they do come out at the same time. Well,
And
yeah,
is this VR? Is this VR for 8?
no, yeah, for Village.
Okay.
7. Is that
Because
7 or 8?
7 already has a VR port.
Okay,
Yeah, Village
then-
is 8.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, so,
I
so
I don't
Village
play
was
Resident
announced.
Evil.
Village was announced the same time for the same time the Resident Evil 4 was announced. It was announced the same day.
Okay.
Yes, so it might be a little earlier. It might be later because the profit margins won't be as much.
Speaking of other Sony properties, I wanted to talk about this one. The Spider-Man is coming to PC. So
I'm super excited for that.
bro, I played
Finally.
Spider-Man. I played the first one on PS4. Man, that had me. I was in it. Like I think I 100% it.
It was the last AAA title I played on my PlayStation before switching to that and Red Dead Redemption. Before I really switched to PC, because like I didn't really buy that many AAA titles from 2018 to 2020. There wasn't a lot. Well, I think Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first one, was probably the last one, to be honest. But that was the last single player one that I bought, because my PlayStation sounded like it was taking off for LaGuardia every time I tried to play that. So I was like kind of worried that it would blow up in the middle of gameplay, because I had a PS4 that came out the launch year. It wasn't a launch PS4, but it was just as old.
Yeah.
That's what my brother's
Um,
PS4
Jet.
Pro sounded like.
And
I think Spider-Man was the last Sony game that I played because it came out 2018. I did get around that date
that
and I played it. And
that was a year for video games for sure.
I streamed it
Because
and
that
everything. It
and
was enjoyable.
Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, and I remember telling all my PlayStation friends to just fuck off for a week because I'm finishing this game. We're not playing because I played Siege back then on console,
Hmm.
and I was telling her, I was like, I'm not playing ranked, I'm not playing casual. I'm literally playing Red Dead. I'm gonna play Yeehaw Skyrim until I get the entire story.
Yeah.
Did you name your horse John Bon Pony?
Also,
No,
I
I think it was John Benet Ramsey.
Miles Morales version is coming out as well with that one. So both Spider-Mans, not just
Oh, is it bundled or is it separate?
yes,
I think
it's going to be
it's gonna
it's
come
either
out
going to be
together.
bundled or separately. And either way, it's because Miles Morales was a price lower than
Yeah.
No, that is one I didn't get to because it was right when the PS5 was coming out, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna
Yes.
play it, I want to play it on a PS5,
yeah,
and
me
that's when I
too.
realized that I'm never gonna get one because of how freaking hard they're hard to get. So I was like, I'll just
Yes.
wait until they're on PC, and I'm glad I did.
And the thing about what
Uh,
I'm really liking with Sony, they're doing a year after it goes to a PC, and I'm okay with that.
I mean, I'm fine with the year, but like as you're seeing with some of these dates, like Spider-Man, the original game was released in 2018, and we're only gonna be getting it now in August.
No, here's the
Horizon Zero Dawn was in 2017, and now we're getting it. We got it in 2020. Like these large year differences, I'm not a fan of personally.
but
I think like go for it.
go. I was just gonna say they remastered Spider-Man. This is gonna be the remastered version of the new Spider-Man because they
Ah.
had two different versions of the Spider-Man of 2018. The remastered one
So-
that came out with Miles Morales, and then the original one.
But the same thing happened for God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn. They were both uplifted and their graphics were increased dramatically. Like
Yeah,
it doesn't personally, I don't think it takes 3 years to do so, especially with the hardware that we have nowadays.
It's a Sony exclusivity thing, and them trying to figure out how to play nice with Microsoft because they don't want to necessarily do that because they feel like they have the market, and they dominated the PlayStation 4, Xbox
Yeah.
One generation for so long. Because back when it was PS3, Xbox 360, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do crossplay?" Xbox was killing, it, and they said, "Absolutely not, screw you." And then when PlayStation started doing it in PS4 versus the Xbox One's like, "Look how PlayStation doesn't play fair," and then PlayStation's like, "I bet I'm just gonna keep digging my heels in because
Yeah.
we took your crap for 7 years, and then you don't want
Mhm.
to take ours." So here, banger after banger after banger of like Horizon. Then you get God of War, Spider-Man,
what do they
freaking
really?
Red Dead was on both consoles, but like PS4 just
Uncharted as well. I thought about at the time
yeah.
of making this.
Well, I want to interject here real quick because I haven't been a Sony like owner of anything since
Same.
the PS2 until the PS5. I was able to get one in MSRP, so I just picked it up. I'm like, okay, whatever. And the thing that I noticed the biggest, because I was, hardcore into Xbox, and then I just switched to PC, and I was pretty much just eating popcorn and watching each side burn each other. But the biggest thing that I saw is that Microsoft would have, a bunch of exclusives and all that stuff too. But they didn't generally pull, from what I saw. So if I am wrong, please correct me. They didn't generally pull the same type of shenanigans that Sony did. Sony would go and pay out the ass to get all these exclusives, the COD exclusives and whatever. And, they had certain things exclusive for like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. But the big issues, because this was when I was really big into Destiny, is they would pay Bungie to have
For
exclusives for like
exotics.
for
I
like a
remember that.
year, and it's just like,
Yeah.
and I remember at the
Oh,
end of
yeah.
Destiny 1, like some things actually went past a year, and it's just like, okay, so just fuck all the players, right? Just so that
Yeah.
you can get your bottom line going. And
Mhm.
meanwhile, Microsoft is over here. I mean, of course, it's not altruistic; it's a business decision,
Exactly.
but they're over here doing all kinds of stuff to make it more accessible to players. Almost, every single one of their first party games, they go onto PC. They put fucking Halo on PC
Yeah.
the same day it released on Xbox. They allowed Nintendo to link into their Xbox Live system for Minecraft. So if you go and you play Minecraft on a Switch, you're logged into Xbox Live. Like I would go and I would play Minecraft with my buddy Mav on PC, and then I would go lay down and I'd be like, oh, I want to play a little bit more Minecraft. I pull up my Switch, log into Minecraft, and play the exact same character on his server doing the same shit, but on my Switch.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Sony's getting less inclusive, being more walled off, being less consumer friendly. It's just like it's really not a good look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
definitely
mean,
agree
I
with
do have
you.
a counter to that though, and my only counter to that is that when you say that Xbox puts stuff directly on PC, it's kind of the same company. I mean,
Well,
it's Microsoft after all.
So
Well,
here's the
well, yeah, but
But the thing is,
they're
I mean,
they're
that makes it look
Hold on.
like you were saying they're not truly altruistic, but it makes it easier for them to swallow that because it's like they're not really losing any profit by putting it on a different platform, so to speak, because it is still their platform.
Yeah.
they are though, because they released Halo on Steam.
Yeah,
Steam
that's what I was
takes
gonna say.
30% cut.
Yeah, it
okay.
wasn't
See, I
on
was
like
If
Minecraft
it was
is
the-
on
if-
Microsoft. The
see, I was
browser, you have
talking
to
about
get it.
not necessarily Halo, but I was talking about like when they put games on PC in general. They normally you can play them through the Xbox Store
Yeah,
along
like
with a bunch of other games. That's what I was referring
Yeah.
to. So
Okay.
my bad for not clarifying.
yeah, like if it's only on the store, then yeah, I agree. But they're slowly moving because they realize people hate the fucking Microsoft store, so they're just slowly moving all their shit to Steam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is probably the right call.
I guess
And they also didn't they also buy Mojang, so they bought Minecraft because there was
Yeah.
two
Bought 'em a
different
while
versions.
ago, yeah.
Yeah.
They
A
finally,
Yeah, so
yeah,
that was
they finally combined the versions, so Bedrock and Java are going to be
yeah.
the same
Yeah.
version now.
and that's the thing
Mhm.
is like now they have it so it's easy for them to look like the heroes. But like I said, during the Xbox and PS3 days, when I just wanted to play with my buddy on fucking PlayStation 3, and then there was I can't remember what game it was, but someone like
Mhm.
flipped a switch, and this was before the whole Rocket League thing where someone made it so it was compatible for both. They were on Xbox and PS3. There was another game that also did the exact same thing, but I can't remember what it was. I'll have to look it up later. Where they made it so you could play together, and then Microsoft was like, "Absolutely not. That's gonna jeopardize our security."
Yeah.
That was their
Well-
reasoning, but they were winning the war. That's another
Yeah.
thing. It's like with the console wars, quote unquote, they didn't want to play nice,
Yeah.
and then Sony decided to do the same thing. But Sony did get. I can say this for sure. They went way more aggressive because they decided to do what
Yeah.
you were talking about by buying those exclusivity deals.
Yeah,
But-
like that's my issue. Like if you don't want a console to play with another console, cool, I get it. I don't necessarily like it, but I get it. But like making content exclusive for a year, even if it's small, like the Monte Carlo in Destiny 1 was an exclusive on the PS3 for a year. I still use the Monte Carlo almost every single time I play Destiny 2. It's one of my favorite weapons. Like
Mhm.
so it's like in that very specific case, and again, this is just me, but it's like some people may say like, oh, it's just one exotic. It's like, well, apparently I was missing out on a shit ton considering it's one of my favorite weapons.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with both of you. And here's where I kind of draw a line. It's not hard. Like you're saying, you're taking money out of Microsoft's pockets by keeping the PlayStation games to PlayStation and Xbox games to Xbox. Xbox doesn't really affect Microsoft. Here's the thing. It's not hard to create a service that allows you to play PlayStation games or select games on PC without giving Microsoft revenue. It's just that they don't want to do it. So you're in doing this, killing PC players who just want the best of both worlds. They want to be able to run stuff at high frame rates and high settings, which you can't do on most of these consoles. So now you're just alienating both your fan bases,
Mhm.
and on top of all that, you're losing revenue because now people aren't going to buy your game until it comes out 3 years later on PC.
Well, in that regard, that's not necessarily them losing revenue. That's them. They still get revenue from it. It's just later on. And most of the time, if it's most of the time when it's exclusive in one of those must-have things, people will go out and buy that console, which is what they want. They
Yeah.
want you to buy the console for God of War Ragnarok. They want you to buy the console for this exclusive, like
Okay.
Last of Us 2. They wanted you to make sure you got a PS5 or a PS4.
That
Like they have really killer games, but that's just the whole console war thing going back and forth has just been decades at this point
the
of
thing
their
about-
pettiness.
The thing about the the exclusives. Like I'm fine with having Xbox having their exclusives, like being only to Xbox. The same thing with Sony. It's the third party games, like multiplayer, very multiplayer games, that I would rather have them cross play rather than just being on one platform. Because the single players,
Yeah.
I can rather have it on one system. But if it's multiplayer, you need to open up the borders and let everybody together.
I mean, that's what the game companies decided to do themselves.
Yeah.
The game
They've been
companies
getting
were like,
better at it.
"This is ridiculous. We're just like,
Yeah.
for example, Call of Duty did this. I think Fortnite did this.
Fortnite pioneered it. They
Yeah.
were
Fucking-
the ones that started
Fucking Splitgate does it, dude.
it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I gotta play
And
that
that's
game again.
that's a
Halo ripoff.
that's a free to it's
a
a
fun
free
game.
to play game that most people probably haven't even played.
It's a fun
And
game.
they do it. Yeah, it's a straight Halo ripoff. They even ripped the Halo 4 BR. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, it's just
That's-
Halo with portals, and I like it, and it's Footgate is pretty fun. Have you played Combat Arms? It's like a Call of Duty ripoff.
Yeah. I mean, if the game's
Call
fun,
Roblox
it's fun.
it, Ayo.
Mm.
Now, one thing I do absolutely love Sony for, and I hope they continue to do it. I think they realize that they're probably not going to win the multiplayer war, I guess is the best way to put it. Like games that they put out that have an okay single player but a killer multiplayer.
Yeah.
For the most part, Xbox has that down. So as a result, they put out all these single player games that are just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And time and time again, they put it out like you said, freaking shit.
Uncharted.
The
Horizon
Uncharted
Zero Dawn,
series,
Spider-Man, God of War.
They
All
can remaster
like-
all those
and-
games a lot.
And I think Sony also is targeting a very specific audience. They're not targeting like the hardcore gamers who are out there playing those multiplayer games and already have the console. They're targeting like just like 9 to 5 dads that just like, oh, I haven't
Yeah.
touched a PlayStation since I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
15.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, this God of War looks cool. I'm gonna go buy that console
yeah,
Yeah.
like
so I can
Yeah.
play it.
for
That's
example,
their target audience for a lot of that.
Yeah, for example, their target audience isn't me. Their target audience is like my wife, somebody who sparingly plays video games. So single player games are the best choice.
Yeah.
Mm,
Whereas more of Microsoft is a lot more family oriented. It's a lot more, I guess I want to say this, kid friendly. It's
that's
a lot more
Nintendo.
if you want to watch what your kids are playing earlier on, you go Xbox. And if you're a little older, maybe a teenager, maybe a little older than that, you go PlayStation, because PlayStation's games tend to be a lot more graphic. They tend to be a lot more intense,
Okay.
personally, from my experience.
Not even
Right.
graphic, but just the adult themes. Like
Yeah.
what game is it that where the cop's the serial killer?
Oh,
The
Detroit?
PS4 game.
Become human?
No, not Detroit.
no, that's Roblox.
Something Rain.
Heavy
Heavy-
Rain?
Yeah, Heavy Rain. Like that is like no pun intended, but that's a heavy ass game, dude.
Yeah.
Killzone.
The concepts in it. Like there's one part where the dad has to cut off his own finger to like find the location of
What
his kid
the
and shit.
hell?
Like it's super fucked up.
Yeah. And then
There's-
all Microsoft has, as far as that goes, is like Tomb Raider, which has been going a little more into horror recently. But like for the
Tomb
most part,
Raider's
it's like,
been stretched out a lot.
well, there's only been like what, 3 games at this point? They haven't even come out with one in the last 4 years.
Yeah. But
That's because Crystal Dynamics actually just got sold.
What?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that? Square Enix pretty much offloaded all their North American studios. They sold
just cause 4 being a shit show. Not
they
surprised.
sold Crystal Dynamics and some other studios. They sold them for like 300 million.
That's crazy.
that's low.
I'd say
low.
that's
A lot of the games that they've been putting out, those studios, like they didn't really turn that big of a profit.
yeah, I could see that, especially with how much work probably had to go in their
And
graphics for
speaking
some
of,
of those Tomb Raiders.
Speaking of Square Enix, Final Fantasy 16, it comes out December 2023. Not all, well, people in here right now, us 4, don't really play much Final Fantasy. Quote me
I know
if I'm
Seth
wrong.
does a lot
Yeah,
of-
Seth is living, breathing Final Fantasy 14.
Yes.
If he didn't have a life, he would be on there a lot more often.
See, I'm the worst Final Fantasy player because I'm the only one in known existence that likes Final Fantasy 12 because it was a pseudo MMORPG on a PlayStation 2. Don't believe in Ondor's lies. That's one of the lines. That's the only one that's burned in my skull.
The thing about MMOs, it takes so much time. Like, it takes so much of your life. That's why I when I dip into MMO, I stay in there for a little bit and I have to get out because back when I was in high school, I was dove deep into an MMO. When I got out of it, it was a refresher because I went over to Call of Duty afterwards. But MMOs,
12 was like a MMO without the MMO. It was like large landscapes. You would wait for things to spawn to kill certain things, and it was like the first time that they didn't have like the turn system, where it was like real time like turns, or you could pause.
I thought that was 11. They got rid of. They didn't do the turn system.
I think it was 12. I'll double check.
Quote me if I'm wrong. It don't really matter, but I know because usually if you think about the Square Enix, Kingdom Hearts would be the first action RPG. Quote me if I'm wrong. But
as far as Final Fantasy 16 goes, I personally love the art style that they showed off in the trailer.
Yes.
I encourage anybody who, even if you're like not a fan of it, just go watch it because the trailer itself looks sick as hell. And that game's slated for summer 2023.
Yeah, I would grab that game if it's on PC. I'll grab it if I don't get a PS5 between then.
I'd have to see gameplay first because I don't really know what Final Fantasy is about, but that art style that they showed off in the trailer looks sick.
Final Fantasy is about a story. It's always like a medieval kind of sci-fi kind of mystical kind of place. It's fantasy. Yeah. So it's like knights and stuff like that, knights royalty. Like Final Fantasy 15 had the knights, but it was also kind of modern. And it's just a lot of like it's very anime centric. Like it is like this is the anime that gets girls wild because of the art style. Like Sephiroth, Cloud, those are
guys.
Those it's such beauty with how they look. It drove people insane.
And nothing makes sense.
Yeah. When I hear Seth and my other friends talk about Final Fantasy, I'm like, bro, what are you talking about time travel? Like, cause when I was playing,
it's like
not like I was getting into.
Well, like you got time travel, and then Final Fantasy 14, you got the sword and board type of things, but then they go and they jump on a flying fucking car, and then they're commanding these freaking machines that shoot guns and shit, and then you have a class that can literally shoot a gun, but it's like a flintlock, but then it's automatic, and then it's nothing makes sense, and it's fucking awesome.
The last imagination. That's basically what Final Fantasy is. Like every imagination is in there. Like random bullshit. Go.
So I was looking at the different types of. There's so many different versions of the traditional turn-based. Like it goes up for each game, but there's one called Active Time Battle, which is like the first time that they actually named the turn-based system. Final Fantasy 12 was the first one that had Active Dimension Battle, which was quote unquote like the advanced version of the Active Time Battle, which is just turn-based.
Okay.
So that's the one where you could walk around. You could you could pause time and chain like 4 characters to do an attack at one time, or B, actively move around as one character, or control multiple characters by like switching over, and then having them queued up to do whatever attacks and stuff like that. So that was like the first one that made it different, which is why a lot of people didn't like it because it was way too different.
Dan, if you ever think about testing the waters with Final Fantasy, go with either the generic Final Fantasy 7 or just play a month of Final Fantasy 14 if you can read a lot of dialogue.
I think I have one on Xbox because I remember my brother playing one where the 4 guys hopped into a floating car.
That's 15.
Sure. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that same floating car is in 14.
Yeah, because they like with 14 is a combination of a lot of things. Because the thing about the Final Fantasy series, like each one is not a sequel; it's its own world. So it's not.
They also take place hundreds of years apart. Some of them do.
What?
Yeah, so
Yeah, the timeline is fucked.
having the game being numbered like sort of screws itself because people are like, oh, it's a continuation. It is not a fucking continuation.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
at all. No.
Yes.
That's
Like Final
crazy.
Fantasy VII has different versions, but it's not like Final Fantasy VIII. No, it's Final
Like
Fantasy VII. This, that, blah, blah, blah.
like I think maybe one or two are connected, but it's gonna be like multiple games in between. So
There,
it's kind of confusing.
there is constant, like there's always a Sid in there. There's always Muggles.
I don't know what either of those are, so don't worry.
Okay.
Flying cat looking things. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
What?
The
No, I
next,
told
is
you, dude.
that?
Nothing makes sense. Don't try to make sense
the
of it.
last imagination.
But I want. What?
The next thing I want to get here was
Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, Street Fighter 6.
Yes.
Dan has been dabbing into fighting games. I have dabbed into fighting games for the past year.
Okay, testing the waters. I don't think diving is a good term. I've spent like a good, maybe hour or two every like 5 or 6 weeks
Okay.
just figuring out if I want to play the game or not.
Okay.
Usually doesn't end up with me playing it.
It's always best when you play with friends, because you can learn. You have more fun. I have more fun when I'm playing with friends. Because online, bro, you play that one character as this cheese, you just get pissed, or you try to do stuff that you can do offline and it don't work. It's just like, but Street Fighter 6, haven't played any of the Street Fighters, so I don't know much information about that. But I most likely might be picking up Street Fighter 6. It is dated for 2023 on all platforms besides Switch. So Switch would probably.
I have.
Sorry,
go for it. Finish up your thought.
I was gonna say it's probably coming to Switch probably like in 2 years afterwards until they update the Switch, but that's a different story.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the trailer. I like the art. It's a new art style. I was gonna say I like it, but again, I haven't played 5. I have 5. It's in there. It's installed in this computer. I just never opened it. So I need to get to that point, but there's not really much for me to touch on that. It was mostly just the trailer and it announcing when it was gonna come out.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. I'm most likely looking forward for DNF Duel that's coming out later this month. Today is the 10th of June, so it's coming out on the 28th, 22nd. And then Evo is August, so whatever announcement might be coming up with then, because they're doing a lot of updates with the fighting games right now for Evo.
Yeah.
And if you don't not know what Evo is a big fighting game tournament with multiple different games, from Street Fighter to like Super Smash Bros, which is not going to be an Evo this year. Yeah, it's not going to stink as much at Evo.
Yeah.
But yeah, Evo's a tournament that comes out like every year, either virtual or physical. It's with fighting games. It's always a more of a. It's all heavily dependent on you. It's because it's not a team base. You can do team tournaments, but it's always gonna be dated to you. Like you can't have support from your team if you're playing a team fight. But
it's all your drive. It's all your mental. You can have maybe a couple people around you, but they're never going to be the ones playing the game at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And
but with that, I'd like to touch on, I believe, our final topic of the day. Horizon Forbidden West is coming out with a VR game called Horizon Call of the Mountain. It's going to be on our earlier mentioned PSVR 2, and the story basically goes as it follows Riaz, the main protagonist, who he was a former Shadow Guardian warrior. As against the commonality of these Horizon games, it's going to be a male protagonist instead of a female that we've been following for the past 2 games. So that's going to be very interesting. And the story pretty much goes as we're following Riaz on a mission to discover the truth behind a great new threat, which the Shadow Carja were originally the enemies of the main protagonist in the original game. And I guess one of the interesting points that I thought about with this is VR is a future outlet for gaming that could be quite big if these leaps and bounds are continued to be made. Like, for instance, we are getting a lot of stuff like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. We're seeing this game with Horizon Forbidden West. We're seeing Beat Saber. We're seeing a lot of these games that are pulling people into the space. And I am very interested on seeing where this goes and how developers change it. Because as the technology develops and as people start to put more and more money into this
Hmm.
way of gaming, I feel like it could expand very rapidly and to a place that we've never seen many games go before.
I with VR, you can. I'm all cool with it. Just don't get too deep into it because I still like my controller. And that probably just be a little bit of the old boomer, the quote unquote gamer boomer in me because I'm still with the controller. I mostly play mouse and keyboard when it comes to first person shooters, but I play controller on like just platforming or anything like that. But VR, you can do that, but don't get too heavy into the graphics because we need to have some kind of separation from reality and non-reality. Because if you make that shit too real, people will be feel like they're in the Matrix, and then blah blah blah. It's
Ready Player
Well,
One, bro.
yeah.
well,
Player
who says we aren't already in the Matrix?
Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah, and then you gonna have. I'm not saying anything to you. I'm not saying anything bad, but you gonna have people that way too deep in it. They go have some kind of hospitalizations. They think he's still in
Yeah.
VR.
Well,
People are gonna think they can respawn, and that's not how it works,
well, I
unfortunately.
mean, to be fair, the type of people like that, you know, I don't know how to word this. It's like they're the type of people that they already have those predilections, so
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
not fair to it wouldn't be fair to say like, don't develop this technology because somebody, may misuse it. Like, if you're talking about creating, a tactical nuke that you can fit in the palm of your hand, okay, yeah. But
yeah,
it's like it's all up to the individual to choose how they consume it. And
Yes.
right.
if they choose to overconsume it, I mean, no one except them can be blamed because no one is responsible for their actions except them.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
get behind that.
This is a little bit off topic, but it still goes on with the VR. I just want to get in my head. Don't try to like feed off into it. But I think I'm not trying to get much political, but if they implement to where we can have our quote unquote wars through VR, it'd be much better. But
Well,
Hmm.
technically, we kind of are this
I
whole
was about
cyber
to
war
say, I
thing.
think you
Like,
can.
yeah.
there's all kinds of crazy shit that goes on with that. But
Mm-hmm.
like I I'm interested to see where VR can go. Um, for more
Entertainment.
of the benefits of the human mind. Like, if you can go and do things in VR and it seems real, it's like, okay, well, you can go in there and like, say, you want to train up to be able to help defend yourself. Possibly you could do that with there.
Mm-hmm.
um you know m- I'm former military, so of course I go to this, have soldiers train, in VR, because there's quite a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of, soldiers, marines, sailors, airmen that die every year just in training accidents. And like, you
Okay.
can literally cut that down to zero, train in VR. I'm pretty sure a lot of pilots already do that sort of thing. I think that's been a thing for a while.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it could help you deal with other things. Let's go into more nuanced topics, like, dealing with certain forms of, dealing with trauma, PTSD, or all that sort of things.
PTSD,
It's
yeah.
Yeah.
like that can help you confront it and deal with it. It's VR can be so much more than just gaming. And that's why I respect somebody like John Carmack, for example, quite a bit. Even though I don't agree with a lot of things that he's done, I admire the dude because his whole goal, his entire life, is being, a developer. If you don't know him, he's the guy that developed the engine for Doom 1, Doom 2, Quake 1, Quake 2, all that shit. And
Mm-hmm.
he's been all about VR. Like, he wants to go to VR. Back in 2014, he went to Facebook because they own Oculus and he wants to work in VR.
Yeah.
And it's not just because he wants to do gaming; it's because he wants to unleash the capabilities of the technology. And
Yeah.
we think we can know where it's going to go, but in 10 years it's going to look completely fucking different, just like
Yeah.
how 10 years ago we had no idea where shit was going to go.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like
Um.
I feel like this kind of stems from like the base technology growth. Like you've got your PC and consoles, like Xbox and PlayStation. Those are grouped together. And then you're seeing these two new technologies emerge in the form of handheld consoles like the Switch. You've got a couple of Windows PCs coming out in the form of VR. Those two kind of, I'm forgetting the word at the moment, industries are steadily
Mm,
growing, and I'm personally interested in seeing where they're going. They have medical benefits, they have a lot of these things, but it's cool to see technology being used for such a wide range
yeah.
and to see it develop so quickly over the span of my lifetime. Because this is one of the things that I can focus in and say, okay, for me, I can say 5 years ago it wasn't like this. I actually noticed what VR was and what it's becoming. Just like I was messing around with PCs back when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I read about the Ryzen 1600, the original series of Ryzen. Like
Mm,
I remember the growth and how AMD has come back. And it's just cool to see technology like this change right in front of my eyes and grow.
yeah. And the thing about VR, I think Microsoft has not gotten into VR since they failed with the Xbox Connect. And if
Was
they
it Connect VR?
no, it was like VR because you were the controller. Because they had it on the 360, but then they forced it in with the Xbox One. But they had, after it was not selling, which made them lost a lot of
They
money.
just killed it
They
off,
they
right?
they, they took it off. But if they bring it back, is they're really on edge on with bringing that back because they don't want to fail like they did with the Kinect, because Sony had the PlayStation Move, which would implement to the VR. Nintendo had the Wii, and it was the Wii U, which failed, and the
Yeah.
Switch, which did very successful. So Microsoft they're really hesitant with going into VR. That can make or break them after they just pulled so much back from just the failure, quote unquote failure of the Xbox One, because it had a rough start, but it didn't start picking up till like near the end of its life cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and VR can be good. Like, say for instance, you have a family member that's in the military or someone that's in prison, and you want to see them, like, get some sort of quote unquote physical contact with them. You can do VR, even though it's not like the same thing, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
Better than nothing.
Yeah.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Like,
I was talking about it with Drew earlier. Like I got my Oculus before I got my Switch, and I have more games on the Switch, but I play the Oculus more because the Switch just doesn't itch that feeling that the Oculus kind of itches for me. And
mm-hmm.
it's just the technology is so unique and so different in comparison to Nintendo's same old cut and dry formulas. It's gotten
Well,
to the point where I'm kind of just looking at the new tech and I'm like, how far can you go? I'm in the
well,
same thought process.
you can't really judge Nintendo because Nintendo got a Nintendo, as you see with the Wii, and then they double down with the Wii U, and
Mm-hmm.
then let's not even get started on their naming conventions with the 3DS, 3DS XL, the new 3DS, the new 3DS
Oh, okay.
XL.
Let me say
As
something about
new.
3DS, bro. The XL version was been like, hey, you got small hands. Well, here's the XL for you big
Well,
people.
how about here's a new XL? Here's a new 3D XL. How
Yeah,
about a new
tacking on
2D
new,
XL?
that is
Well, the
dumb.
2D, okay,
Because that is
2D was dumb.
the
That was
that
2D
is
dumb.
not
XL.
designed.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say,
Sorry,
is the naming conventions make it so hard for a grandma to pick out the right one for their kid on
Okay,
Christmas?
yeah,
Can you imagine? Can you
yeah.
get
Let
me
me
the
roll a
new
dice.
3DX XL? Okay, and then she goes, "Hi, can I get the Nintendo 3DX, the new one? Oh, here's a 3D
Well, here's
Here
the
you
thing.
go.
Well, the grandmas nowadays don't have to worry about it because the DS is dead.
Yeah.
So that was
Okay.
it's gotta worry about
No.
the Switch. Like, which Switch you want? You
Just
want this
yeah.
handheld? You want the
Just
all
you want the
of
Pro
one?
with the bare screen. Nothing actually changed other than
But I
that.
feel like
Yeah.
I feel like at least with the Switch, it's not as confusing because they actually look different. They don't look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like the OLED model is bigger, like physically
Yeah.
bigger.
No, it's the same size.
The
It's
one
just the
you can
screen
get,
is
I
more.
think
It's the
the
same
no, it's
screen
bigger.
size.
takes up more real estate.
I mean, the
This
screen is bigger. It's
Yeah.
noticeably bigger. There's a marketing like
Yeah, they got rid of the
on the
black
box
borders
that makes
around
it.
the Switch. Like that's what
Yeah,
they
it just.
did.
That's it though.
But
That's it.
it's an OLED screen as well. It's not
Yeah.
a 720 screen.
There's a little more differentiation than just the word new and maybe a color
Yeah,
scheme
because
difference.
all the new ones did is just make it so like it was a feature that was invisible to like the naked eye because it was like you can put amiibos on it.
I think there
Cool.
was color difference. I might be wrong about
There was
that.
a 3D portion. There was a slider, and I used to because I had one. I had a new
Mhm.
3D X or new 3DS
Yeah.
XL. Oh my god, I hate
Yeah.
that name.
I meant the
Um,
background. Like the
and
background.
all it did was it made it quote unquote 3D, but it also just made it really painful in my eyes to look at.
Blurry.
Yeah. The thing
It's,
is,
it's like yeah,
I bought the 2DS, the one that actually looked like it was a flat, like it was all in one. You could not bend it whatsoever. I only
Yep.
bought the 2DS because I did not want the 3D feature because I was not going to use it at all. And then like years later, I see the new 2DS where you can actually fold. I was like, bro, like what?
Oh wait!
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. The one that I forgot about that. So
Mhm.
you said, I'm like,
It
wait,
was the
what?
XL, but it had without the 2D feature.
With the 3D.
I was like,
There was no bend. I forgot about that one. I was like, wait,
yes.
what? No,
Yes.
why would you make that?
I still have it. And that's mainly for kids because it's the way you hold it is for kids.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
As
kids would
far
just mess around with the hinge and break it.
as far as the point I was
Yeah.
trying to make, when it comes to like new technologies, Nintendo is not interested in new. They're interested in just
Yeah.
interesting. They're interested in doing things that make them happy,
Yeah.
regardless if it actually makes money or not. Like for
Yeah.
example, the Wii U, they're really so freaking adamant about that stupid
What?
trackpad or the touchpad.
Hey man, I like the Wii U.
I-
I'm
Hey,
one of the
without the
only-
a lot of great Switch games came from the Wii U because a lot of the games that were
Yeah,
on Switch were from the Wii U. Like
Like-
Breath of the Wild, I think was one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
but it was
that's-
it
that's
was
one
sold.
feature,
It was
so.
mostly sold for the Switch though. Also, Mario
Yeah.
Kart 8. We still have not got a Switch version of Mario Kart.
No, here's
Hey,
another
Mario
map. We'll see you in 20 years.
Yeah.
They added more maps. Like here, we heard that we haven't done Mario Kart, so we just added DLC for Mario
Okay.
Kart. I'm like, what?
And I'm not bringing this up again because we brought it up last podcast, but all I'm just gonna say is we switch sports. I'm not talking about it anymore. We're not talking about this conversation. I'm not getting heated over this again. We're moving on.
I wasn't even going to bring it
Back-
up, but that's on you.
Well,
brought-
hey man, we're going down the track. I'm just
I
Don't
mean,
talk to
it's
me.
really weird that you picked up the hot potato just to put it down, my guy.
yes, because I want to say what everyone's thinking. If you think of Nintendo, okay?
No, when I think of Nintendo, I think the only thing they're gonna do, they're not gonna make graphical interfaces. They're not gonna make anything big overhaul. They're gonna just do a small bit thing just to get by. But we're as the consumer gonna buy it anyway because this is Nintendo, and Nintendo really
The-
has not done anything wrong. But financially and business wise, yes, they have done wrong. But
Yeah, they're not in to innovate. They're there to entertain. Like
Yeah.
that's their biggest goal because
Yeah.
they still consider themselves a toy company to this day.
yeah,
They don't
and-
consider themselves a video
I
game
find
company.
that crazy.
Isn't that wild?
And
Yeah.
the thing is, when you get a Switch, you get that's your secondary console. You always get either the PlayStation or the Xbox. Then you get the Switch for when you're on the go. Because PlayStation Vita, it was a hit or miss for a lot of people. Like, I didn't my when we were growing up, I had the Nintendo handhelds. My cousin had the Sony handhelds, which was only like 2 versions. So
I was about to say, wasn't there another thing other than the Visa?
Vita, the
There's
regular
a-
PSP, and then the PSP Vita.
Yeah, PSP. That's what I was thinking.
That was it. And
That's crazy, dude.
if
Like to see how far those have come, it's just,
if Sony goes into handheld one more damn time, I'm gonna be like, bro, you need to stop.
bro. They're just gonna waste
It's
some
it's
money.
really
at that
sad
point.
because as much as I heard about the PlayStation Vita, like I kind of wish I had one during the PS4 days, and now they're
Mhm.
super hard to get. They were actually underutilized as far as like what they could do in other games. Um,
Mhm.
They-
like and just the fact that you could play console games handheld before the Switch.
Yeah,
Like it was
it was a Steam Link before the Steam Link.
yeah, the Vita walked so the Switch and Steam Link could run. That's basically how that went down.
Like
It's like
it's
the Wii U and Switch. Just
Well,
Wii
the
U
Wii U,
walked
you
so
c-
Switch
well,
could run.
you couldn't go outside your house with your Wii U. You can sit on the toilet. And
Yeah,
take
I mean,
shit
you
with
Yeah, I
your
could-
mean,
Wii
if you
U.
play with it on the wall, dude. If you put it on
No,
the
I
wall, you
mean-
walk outside the wall.
I mean, but I
There
see
you
the
go.
point that Nick is making. It was fully portable, and you could play like console games. Like Persona 4 Golden was one of the ones that was like a big hit for the Vita,
Yeah.
which is a big reason why people still want to get a Vita.
You
Believe it or not.
you can get. I got Persona 4 Golden right now on my Steam. I haven't.
Yeah,
launched
but that's
it.
because it recently came out to Steam this like past
Yeah.
year and a half to 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Mm.
Whereas beforehand, it was like one of the best ways to play it was the PlayStation Vita, and a lot of other features that it had.
well, like Nintendo's weird though.
Mhm.
Like I see the what you're saying with like the Vita and all that stuff. Like it's Sony trying new things, but if you look at what Nintendo does, it's sort of like a natural progression of things. Where like you had the Wii and they're like trying out some new shit, and if you look at the Wii U is kind of like a test bed for the Switch
It
almost.
was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like if you really look at it.
It was.
It was kind of just putting the idea out there and seeing if people really wanted to go full in.
It's
It was like-
basically the second evolution in a Pokemon like evolution. You have the
Yes.
Wii,
yeah.
the Wii U, and then the Switch.
Dum,
Yeah, you got
dum,
the
dum.
first one that's like holy
It's like-
shit.
It's like everyone wants a Squirtle or a Wartortle, but no one or a Blastoise, but no one wants the Wartortle, and that's
You
what that
lie-
was.
you
It was
capping,
the Wartortle.
bro. Some of these
No,
middle
you-
stage evolutions, I'm
Look.
going for.
Look. You either want a Blastoise or a Squirtle. No one wants the Wartortle. Just saying.
You know what I want? I want those little freaking gangster Squirtles that had the glasses and shit, and they run
Again,
around in a
everyone
gang.
wants a Squirtle. Everyone wants the cool
That's
Squirtle squad, bro.
Yeah.
If we're talking Pokemon, I was a Squirtle main. Fucking love Squirtle. That was my starter.
Yeah, that's my starter too.
Yeah.
I'm a Squirtle man because F
Okay.
Charizard was the weakest one of the. If there's a I can get a long story, but there are videos and proof and evidence of why.
Well, speaking of
Bulbasaur is the
Pokemon, how
best
you
one in that region?
I
how
was
you
about
guys
to bring
feeling
that
about the
up.
new one? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I would say I would pre-order, but I'll be lying.
Say it.
I'm
You
not-
say it. Don't
I-
you
I'm
say
not-
it.
See, I have
I'm-
Pokemon Sword, but I barely touched it. Like I got maybe
did.
2 or 3 cities in, maybe did a couple gym battles, but like
I've sorted.
I wasn't digging it, man. I don't know.
beat
I feel like
Sword.
those kind of games have
I understand why people did not like Sword. It was a lot of open. The open area was too open. And
yeah, that's
yes,
a
that
big
was-
gripe that I had with
if
it.
you Have you played Legends Arceus?
No.
Play that.
No.
But
Play
my ADHD ass just saw the large open
That-
space with maybe 1 or 2 Pokemon
Well,
roaming around. I'm like, why?
Here's the thing. Arceus is not like any of like the old where you find a Pokemon trainer in battle. It is you're hunting Pokemon and the Pokemon can hurt you. You can literally quote unquote die and you go against giant Pokemon boss battles. You're supposed to cure them so they can because they're guardians of the areas and you're supposed to cure them because there's been some kind of storm that made them wild and there are new Pokemon, new evolutions and versions of Pokemon from the past because this takes place in the past. You're building the first Pokedex, so you have to catch like 10 Pikachus to complete the Pokedex. And literally, sometimes I go up there and just throw a random Pokeball at a Pokemon and catch it so I can finish off the decks. And then the Pokemon battles you can move around when the battling happens. You can get hit while your Pokemon doesn't move. You can get in the crossfire. It's pretty enjoyable. Like the graphics, it's Nintendo. Don't expect graphics. Expect gameplay. It is fun. The alpha Pokemon are fun. They're enraged Pokemon. If you get close to them, they're like I went into a level 5 field and ran across a level 40 Rapidash. I had to run because that thing was chasing me. it took
A
a
lot of the
minute.
things I did hear about that game was definitely like the graphic fidelity, but based off of render difference, like or render like distance. Sorry, not difference. Like certain things would just not be rendered at all from like distances that you wouldn't think they would be that far. But that's all I really heard about that.
It's fine.
Other than that, I heard the gameplay is because I mean it's a Nintendo game. You're not there for
Yes.
Breath of the Wild. Like, well, not okay. Let me back.
Mm,
You're not
That's
there
a bad
for.
example.
You're
That's
not
a
there
bad
for.
example.
You're not there for Horizon Zero Dawn like level of
Yeah.
like
There you go.
graphics. That's what I
Yeah.
meant. It's whatever.
Yeah.
It's outside. Whatever. Go
Stuff
touch
that's
grass.
unplayable.
Yeah,
Stuff that's
like,
Stuff-
unplayable.
Yeah.
like I would
Yeah.
never criticize Nintendo for their graphics, but as long as if you make open world, don't make it too spacious. Put a little bit of things in here. I can downgrade for quality for performance and what you can fill in rather than
Yeah.
the graphics. Because I don't expect graphics, but with other games, I need a good even with both of them.
Yeah.
So
I'm unlike you. I will criticize them for their graphics. Their consoles are very low power in my eyes. But to the point of the original topic of Scarlet and Violet, the two new Pokemon games that are coming out, second I saw them, I texted my brother. I'm like, these new legendaries look like dog shit. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to shit on your guys' thoughts. But, like, when I saw these guys, I'm like, bro, I'm not getting this series because one, Pokemon has gotten to the point where with me where it's so repetitive and so silly about the new Pokemon that they come out with, and the story's pretty much the same. You go down a path, maybe you fight this terrorist organization, whether it be Team Rocket, Team Mystic, whatever, and
Yeah.
around Gym 7, Gym 8, in between there, you find your legendary, you progress most of the important parts of the story, get your legendary, you battle Gym 8, and then you go to the Elite Four.
But
And
the
that's pretty
formula
much
has
it.
not been. I mean, yes, I get what you're saying. Though I would agree with a version of Pokemon to not hold my hand at the beginning, because I know
Yeah.
how to do all this, but I would like to have that in there for any young ones that come into Pokemon. Like I would also like a Nuzlocke version of the Pokemon. Like I don't like to remember like I'm doing a Nuzlocke instead of I would just like
Yeah.
to put us on Nuzlocke mode and have it already in there. The
Also, for those who don't know what a Nuzlocke is, it's basically whatever Pokemon that you get first and whatever Pokemon that you catch first. That's the Pokemon that like you basically try to beat the whole game with.
yeah the first,
And when that Pokemon is dead, that Pokemon is dead.
yes, you catch one Pokemon per route. If that Pokemon dies, you can't use it anymore. You also have to nickname the Pokemon for more bondage. And you randomize your starter too. So you cannot pick your favorite starter. You randomize your starter based on your badge number at the beginning.
Also, in the chat there, I definitely just posted the new legendary Pokemon, and to me, they look like mantis shrimp. Like
They
that's
look
what
like
they look like.
iguanas to me, bro. They look like mutant iguanas.
Well, the one on the left for sure. However, you want to say Korodon, I think.
Also,
Yeah.
have you seen the new
Koridon?
the professors? They making people's pants drops.
Yo, relax. Okay, but yeah, no. The legendaries are kind of like what draw me into a Pokemon game, and personally, last game with, I guess it was Sword and Shield, I felt they were like kind of just losing what they could do with legendaries, and personally, I wouldn't be adverse to seeing them try to do one with like Darkrai and another Pokemon as the legendaries. Something like more old fashioned, but not a redo. Kind of just take it full circle. Maybe try to do a story based game as playing as Ash, like literal Ash.
Pokemon Yellow.
But okay. Well, when did that come out? When did that come out?
96, 97, 98, early
Okay,
90s.
well
Game Boy
that doesn't help me
Advance.
now.
Yeah.
I can't play that on my Switch, bro.
Yes, you can. Just go get a Game Boy and get
You can
wrecked,
play
bro.
that on
my
your computer.
Switch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just duct tape it to your Switch. That way, so you're playing.
Yeah, okay,
on the
wait.
You
Switch.
also-
Nick, can we
If
just
your
say that
Game Boy
what
is
you
on
just
your
told me
Switch,
to
you're
do is
playing it on
illegal?
Switch.
Did I say something illegal? I don't know. All I'm saying, emulate.
Play it on my PC.
Yeah, but
This guy.
yeah.
This guy.
But anyways, Pokemon has not done much good. But to me, I'm still gonna play Pokemon just to see how it is. Though I have gotten to the point of beating Elite Four, I don't do much post game. Anyways, we should be starting to wrap this up. Cal is getting tired because he's been quiet for the past.
Freaking boomer, dude!
Yes.
I swear.
I just don't have anything to add. I'm not very big into Pokemon.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fine.
that was more or less
It's
what I
fine.
thought as well.
It's
Because
fine.
I'm
Yeah.
not super into any of the most recent stuff, but
Mhm.
I do kind of want to jump back in at some point.
Yeah,
It's kind of it looks like it might be interesting with this next set, but who knows?
something we can probably
love
bring
to
up in the
see it
next
though.
podcast. We just probably get a good segment with Pokemon. Probably. Do we have any other Pokemon players in the Discord? Also, if you are new to the podcast, please leave a like. I should have said this way before then. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I need to start putting this in first. Because goddamn. So somebody say that because I'm gonna next time I'm gonna have somebody else do the intro next time. I'm just gonna hit
I got you.
record and then they gonna do it. But anyways, my name's Nick Ben Rob. Everybody, let's get out of here. Cal, Dan, Win.
Yup. See you around.
Take it easy.
Bye.